In this lesson, we're going to take a look at how to model a log burner. This is quite central in the scene. As you can see here in our reference images, it's quite visible, so it needs to look quite realistic. This is something that I'm going to pretty much directly copy from the scene. It's obviously been picked to suit for this image, or for this particular building, so I'm just going to stick with that. Gives me an easy reference. So as before with the architecture, I've just used this and my door as a reference to judge the general height, size and scale of the log burner. And I've got a front on image which I've cropped and brought into max as two references, one in the center just so I can get the general size correct from the beginning, and then one here just a reference, because even if we use our X-ray mode, you can't always see the detail because it has a thickness. If it was just a single face, it would be quite easy to see through. So that's just Alt-X to toggle that on and off. So now we have the basic size correct. I can probably just hide this this one. So we will put that on a reference layer. We'll hide that for the moment. And this can just stay on default so it doesn't get hidden, and this can go on our fireplace layer. I put this as my little numbering scheme, which I'll go through and I'll include in a document or PDF scheme, or yeah, a layering scheme that's always worked for me, and just very helpful for keeping your files tidy. So first thing I need to do is I'm going to convert this to an editable poly, and then we're just going to start making some cuts to line up where we need our detail. So I want two cuts here. We'll bring this a little bit closer actually, just so we can reference against it. So we'll get our verts. So that's around about the top of the door, bottom. We'll stick another connect in there, and that gives us the top of this little wood hole. And we'll connect two down the center and spread these out, and that gives us the edges of our doors. But I think it's obviously going to be a little bit smaller behind the door, because this is going to have a seal around it, somewhere around the center of this. So I think that looks about right for there, and we're going to bring these more central to the thicker part of the door, and that still looks fairly square. There's also a little drawer in here to pull the ash out, so we'll make two cuts in there, and we'll do the same thing. We'll put it around the same place, around the right place, and then we'll just bring it in, because it's bound to be a little bit smaller than the actual outside piece. That also looks to be a little bit narrower than the door, but we can sort that out later. We can add a little inset, or just pull these verts in a little bit shorter than the rest straight away. So how many did we do that? We've done that by -15. So yeah, we'll do -15 and then +15 on here. One thing we can do to keep things simpler as well for modeling, so we're not constantly doing things like that where we're having to put 15 in twice. Just connect straight down the center of here with 1, and we can delete 1/2. Our pivot's in the middle, and we can add a symmetry modifier, turn that down to as low as possible, and now we have our model, and we can turbo smooth it, and we can turn the symmetry off, and we can still work on just one side with the symmetry available. Keeps it quite simple. So what I'm going to do now is extrude these in as that is where the fire goes. So we'll do that by minus 250. That doesn't look so bad. Same for this. We'll extrude that in by the same amount. But we'll delete these bottom polygons. And then we'll bridge. Oh. Actually, we'll put a little ring and a connect around there. And we will drag and snap to the same position as that. And then we can take this vertex, collapse it, and now we can bridge these two edges to keep our geometry tidy. So now we have a little arch and that. We'll do the same thing for the drawer. We'll extrude that in by the same amount, just so we have the hole. And the next part looks like there's a bit of a ledge, a little rim along the top. So we'll go into front view and we'll take our top faces and we will extrude that by, what's that, maybe 5 mil. Yep, that looks fine. So it's quite easy working with the symmetry on, I find. It means you only have to select half as many faces. One thing we do need to do with symmetry is to get rid of any inside faces, such as these. And that way now it's open. So this little front piece, we'll extrude this out by a small amount, and then we'll take these edges and we'll drag them out. And we'll drag this one out even further. As we can see, it's got a curvature, so it sticks out with a bit of a radius. Extruding these bits just makes it a little bit easier to turbo smooth rather than that just connecting to there, because it gives you a triangle and could be quite awkward. One last thing we need to do with this is to create our little oh no, actually, do you know what? We need to leave those until the end because we're using symmetry. We don't want them either side. So we'll leave those little hinges until the end. So what we'll do now is we will start turbo smoothing this and getting our edges in the correct places. So as you can see, that doesn't look very good. Luckily with this, we can still work with our cage and the symmetry and turbo smooth on. So the first thing we need to do is turn it off and work out where we need to keep our sharp edges. So for me, the first one is in these two. Actually, no, we'll just do the center first. So we'll connect there, two edges, and we'll stretch them up, and we'll put it at about 95. We don't want to go too tight. It's nice to have a little bit of curvature on things. It picks up more specular highlights. So we'll just put it on 97. And then we need to do a similar thing through the middle. We need to loop that. Oh, apologies. Ring that. And then connect. The thing is, we only need one edge for this. We don't need one at the center. So we'll drag that across. So it's fairly similar in size and square. And then we'll do the same thing through here for our little drawer. We'll connect these twice. So it's a similar size. And that looks fine. Now with this one, we need to connect it and we need to have it tight at the bottom, but we don't want it tight at the top because this is curved. It's not a sharp edge. So I want to bring this back down to here, and a similar thing, I want to loop that, unselect these ones, and bring this across to a similar distance so it keeps it square, and that should then smooth that as a curve. So let's see where we are now with the Turbo Smooth. Alright, we're starting to get our basic shapes in there. So with the Turbo Smooth on, we'll start working it up a little bit more. So we'll ring around here, connect, and that's all it is. It's just putting edge loops in the correct places, getting everything tight. And we'll put a couple in here, very, very small. Oops. It's just a combination of ring, loop, and connect, really. That's the basics of it. It's just knowing where to put them. So we'll keep working up these, and we'll do the same thing. We'll try and just keep everything a similar size. And we're starting to get a much sharper edges. And we can do the same thing around these inside faces. And that'll start to sharpen everything up too. And you can see now we're starting to get the little, what looks like a cube in the corners. And the same thing in here. And that's picked up the sharp edge, and now you should see that curve we were looking for has started to appear. So we're Turbo Smooth on 3. We've still got some very, very flat edges, or some very, very smooth edges here. So we need to run some geometry along this front edge and start putting some connects in, getting some edge loops here, which will sharpen all these faces up and seam through there. It can take a little bit of time, but you can slowly see it starting to sharpen up and look correct as you go along. And now we have a simple box, Turbo Smooth box model. And in the next lesson, we'll look at modeling the door, adding in the hinges, and modeling the drawer, and making sure the curvature is nice and smooth on everything.